Editing church videos, module number 6. In this video, we're discussing different techniques and ways to approach the editing of your church video. We talked about in module 5 how to shoot a video, the equipment needed. This is purely discussing how to edit those videos. Here's an example of a software that I used for years and years and years, still to this day, called Final Cut Pro X. There's many softwares out there like it. This is one of the standards in the top 3 of softwares out there, and it's a wonderful, wonderful software to use. You see some examples of what it looks like. You've got your image in the top right. You can see there. You can see the timeline at the bottom. The purple is like a title that's going over. You see where it says Adventure Trips. The bottom line is background music. Then there's the bluish turquoise color. That's your audio. It looks like a voiceover. This is a screenshot from someone's computer. You've got in the top left there the different shots that they're using for their video that they're editing. But this is just an example of what it looks like. The gray is transitions. A transition in between each shot or different shot types. Some of them just do a clean transition, no transition. But we'll talk more about that. First things first, you need to figure out a software that you'll use. There's different types, like I said. Best price is whatever you already have. Do what you can to use what you have. If you've got Mac computers, if you've got access, your computer automatically comes with iMovie, which is a great software. Like I said, I use that for years. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, that also comes with iMovie. You can shoot videos on there and edit those all at one time. I shot a video. I was overseas on a mission trip. I shot the entire video on the iPad and then edited the video on the way home on the airplane ride back. So that was pretty cool. You know, you can do a lot of things with the softwares, but find out what kind of software you're going to use. If you have a budget, do your research. Don't just immediately find the most expensive software and purchase that. Do what you can to work with what you have. Check in with different guys like me or some other friends you may have in this field as you do your research. But two big standards today are Final Cut and Adobe Premiere. That's the top one is Final Cut. The bottom right is Premiere. Off here to the side, you see a screen. I believe that's Adobe Premiere. I've never used Adobe Premiere myself personally, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Adobe has a large suite of softwares that go with it, like Adobe After Effects is very popular. There's other softwares that also work in conjunction with these editing softwares. So again, do some research and find out what works best with your setup. Then the hardware, you need to have a good computer with fast CPU, with an ability to do a lot of work. Video editing, by far, is the most hog of things you could do on your computer. It requires a lot of RAM, lots of RAM. And then your SSD, a solid state drive instead of a regular hard drive if you can. So I don't know if you're building a computer to start getting into editing, but I would highly recommend making sure the CPU can handle it. You've got lots of RAM to work with, and if you can, try to use a solid state drive instead of an external hard drive. And you want to have that for storage. You want to be able to work and store your files separately. Video projects get pretty large. The files are pretty intensive and require a lot of space. And so it can really bog down on your computer if your computer's hard drive is completely full of videos. You want to try to maintain about 50% of your hard drive's capacity, the internal. So the external is a solution to do that. I recommend headphones or external speakers. Headphones are nice if you're working on a laptop. It's nice if you're working in a quiet place. But it also can be nice just to listen to the audio with your natural hearing and speakers. Large computer monitor. I recommend having the larger the screen, the better. It's easier on the eyes. if you can find a way. And if you have a mouse, I definitely recommend trying to use a mouse if you can, because a lot of quick edits and your hands can get really tired with the keyboard, with the trackpad on a laptop. So one of the big things you need to remember when you're editing is you're telling a story, a narrative of some kind. Map out the storyline before you really start editing. Map out a basic script and a way that you want to tell a story, because then, based off of that, you're going to put your shots and your angles together in a way that tells what you're trying to tell. It tells the story, the narrative that you're trying to share. So tell the story with the sequence of edits. So put those edits, those shots together in a way that tells a story. Next. This is just an example, of a typical build to most videos. We got your exposition, which is the beginning. You got the conflict, rise, and action. Your videos may not be this complicated, but you definitely want some movement. You don't want things to just be stale, I guess you could say. You want it to build with intensity, and then you definitely want it to feel like the video resolves at the end. You don't want an abrupt ending to your video, but this is just a good visual for that. You want to, in the editing process, allow and set up multiple drafts. Stage one, and again, you can get really in depth with this description here, but stage one is about pulling out any of the excessive, not necessary shots. Don't delete these shots. Just remove them from the timeline or just keep them separately somewhere else. Stage two, sync up your spoken word audio. Make sure your audio lines up with your shots. Make sure everything flows with especially the spoken word stuff. Trim out any of the edges of your shots. You don't want any excessive parts on each shot. I mean, when you shoot it, it's not going to be exactly perfect. You want to trim the edges of those shots to make the motion seem fluid and clear. And then I highly recommend, just like I'm doing now, you have some background music in your video. It keeps things moving, keeps the variety going, and it helps your audience pay more attention and follow along. Set up multiple drafts. Again, stage 5, clear up any spoken audio, get some clarity. Within the software, you can edit the EQ. There's a lot of nice presets, especially in Final Cut. I'm sure there are in Premiere, where you can get a better spoken clarity. That's extremely, extremely important. And then if you've got background music or intro videos, you want to balance out the audio that's there with the spoken word. Color correction is another good step to take on. Your lighting adjustments, color correction and lighting adjustments kind of go together. Back to the composition and your exposure when you shoot the video, you want to have that really set well, but here in the editing process, you want to tweak that, enhance that a little bit to get the best shot that you can in your video. But also make sure, as you're doing these edits, make sure your color correction and lighting are consistent all the way through the video. Make sure it flows between all the videos, all the shots for the video. Number 8, clean up areas after watching each scene in sync. So watch everything in its flow, check it out, look at it, see how it flows, clean up some things, some audio, some video, some lighting, coloring, and then add some transitions or special effects if you want, some titles if you want. And then moving on, closing out your video project. Watch the video one more time or two. I highly recommend a couple times to see if you notice anything. Make sure you're not missing any issues that need editing. Make sure as you're looking at it, you go, hey, how did I miss that? I also have a couple friends that I'll send my video links to. I'll put it in YouTube and make it private or Dropbox or something that I can share a link with a friend. I ask my wife a lot of times to watch the video and just say, hey, what do you think? How's this look? How's it sound? and get their honest opinion with things. But send this final draft again to multiple people. Export or share the file over. Be aware of your file types. There's multiple different types of file endings. Also know where you're going to be showing the video, that based off of what kind of file extensions you need to have. And then make any changes you can from the observations you made or others made. And again, just give yourself time. The editing process is a long process, but you'll get better and better with it over time. Thank you so much.